Hello everyone, this is Chris Jamel at Exiton Interactive, and in this video we do have actually a good bit of programming to do. We'll end up at this point after we're done with this. It doesn't look like much, but what's happening here is I'm actually taking a razor page with a string model. I'm taking that and then I'm rendering that thing out as a string into a property within another page, and then within that page then I'm using it to create the HTML. It's kind of a roundabout way of doing it, and there's a couple reasons to do it. This is basically just a test, and as I mentioned in this video, main goal, at least for now, is to be able to send out emails from my application, and I want to be able to write HTML emails that have dynamic content to them. So I think it's perfectly suited for using razor pages to do it. Like I said, we just have to convert them to a string, which we will take care of in this video. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that we are going to tackle is to expand the location that the view engine will look for razor views. So by default, I don't know if in this project we have any views, we don't, but by default the view engine, the razor view engine, will look for views that are contained within a views folder, which is located within the root of our project. Of course, this one's using basically pages. It does the same thing basically for pages. Looks in the pages folder inside there, then also looks inside of a shared folder within that. And for various things that I'm going to use the view engine for, I don't want to have these pages, views, contained within a specific views folder or pages folder or whatnot. So what we need to do is to allow the view engine to look in different locations, and we're going to do that by creating what's called a view location expander. So what I'm going to do is go into the web UI folder here. So I'm in the root of the project here, and so I have nothing better to do. I'm going to create another folder here, and haven't come up with any better name for us, so we'll just call it infrastructure. Alright, so inside of that I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call that thing the view location expander.cs. Now I suddenly realize why I typically do this stuff with inside of Visual Studio, because then do all this kind of stuff for me. So namespace webui.infrastructure, and public class view location expander. It's going to use implement an interface called iView location expander. I wonder if it'll import this for me, will it? Yeah. So that's in the Microsoft ASP.NET Core.mvc.razor namespace. I wonder if it'll implement. Oh, look at that. It's not too bad then. So we just have to implement these two methods here. Populate values one's easier, so let's just do that right now. We'll just take in we have the context there. Take the context, values, and what we'll do, square brackets, and give it, what is values here? A dictionary. So we'll just say custom view location, and that will be name of, and the thing that we're doing, view location expander. That takes care of it for populating the values here. We'll come up here to our expand view locations method here, and what I'll do is create a new variable, var locations equals, this will be a string array, and inside of there what we'll do, let me just type it real quick, CS_HTML. So you can, so it has these token values, this curly 0, curly 1, curly 2. Generally they refer to, this one would be the name of the action. So then, that's basically the one we'll put in some, well, we'll see exactly. But so the name of the action, then the curlies with 1 would be the name of the controller, curly with 2 would be the area. But what I'm going to do is basically just specify the string that points to whichever view that I'm talking about, and we'll see in the end here what I'm talking about. But you could be more specific in this thing and could just pass in the name or something. So, but what we want to do now is just to take the locations. So we have our locations, and we'll just that's because it's not imported yet. Union that with we're passed in an IEnumerable string view locations, and we need to import that. We'll get a link for that, and I think then we're good to go here. So we've created our view location expander. Of course, we need to tell the framework that we would like to use this thing. So what we'll need to do is to go into the startup.cs file here, and I think I probably put it at the bottom here. But so in the configure services here, all we're going to do is to say services.configure. It's a generic method here, and this is the Razor View Engine options. We'll import now. All right. And so we'll take in some options and do some setting here. Oh, so many things. So x dot, and we have a view location expanders here. We'll just say add. Die in here. Dot add. And we'll have our new view location expander, and it's of course even out of nowhere, not even an option. View location expander. Will you import it now? Yeah. So we've imported in our new view location expander, and we're adding it to the Razor View Engine options. So now we'll be able to the engine will now look in different locations for it. All right, so now to make use of this, so of course the whole goal is to be able to take Razor pages and use everything that's available to that, right? Having a dynamic variables being passed in and updated. We want to take that Razor syntax and convert it into a string. We have the ability now for the view engine to find views outside of the normal views folder. But we also need, like I said, the way to convert the view to the string. So we're going to open up again, and inside of infrastructure here, I'm going to create a new file. This is going to be iViewRenderer.cs. Be good developers here, and we're going to create an interface so that later on, when when we're writing all of our well done unit tests, we can do them a lot easier when we're passing in an interface instead of the actual concrete implementation. But inside of here, we're going to want namespace, web UI, infrastructure, public interface, and we want that to be view renderer. Our view renderer will have a single method, cleverly call it render. It's a generic method, string, like I said, we'll pass in, it's not really name probably, it's probably path is a better thing, but I'll just stick with name. But tModel, model, I'm expecting, although it's not going to necessarily be required, to pass in the model. So for instance, if you're writing and if you want to send out an email, the model might contain the name of the user. You can say hello, whatever your name is, or it could just be a string, or there'll be, some cases in which there'd be nothing here, but for the most part, we'll expect a model to be passed in, or I guess we're going to require it at the moment. All right, so now the bulk of the work, right, is to create the actual view renderer. So view renderer.cs in our infrastructure folder here. This is where our typing comes in. So we'll have namespace, web UI, infrastructure, public class view renderer. It's going to take in our view renderer. Let's have a space there. Conveniently wants to help us. Let's implement that and good to go. All right. So there are a few things that we're going to need inside of here. Let's do our what a day. So public view renderer. So we do want to have some parameters in here. So what we're going to need is the Razor view engine. View engine. We're going to need temp data provider. Guess we don't really need this. I haven't tried it without it though. And we want the service provider and service provider. All right, start doing some importing here. So we have the Microsoft ASP.NET Core.MVC.Razor. So it takes care of the Razor view engine. Where's this one? View features. And what's this? Really? All right. We'll say it's within system here until I find out otherwise. And we'll come up here, injecting them. So we're going to need to keep them around for a bit. So read only service provider, service provider, private read only, temp data provider. I miss it trying to help me out naming things. Razor view engine here. And view engine. If you're curious, I mean, I'm missing a lot from Visual Studio here, but the main reason I'm using code is it's easier to zoom things in and be able to see things, even the project structures and all that kind of stuff. So that's the reason why I'm using it. So we have view engine. Who knows why it's in whatever order it's in. View engine, temp data, service provider. All right, so now we have them all. We can come down here to render and do some work here. So we do have a couple of helper functions here. Private. We're going to get an action context from this. All right, import from MVC. Great. And so we'll say var HTTP. I think I've adapted this code from somewhere, and I've used it over and over for so long now that I have no idea where I've gotten it from. So some of this, just the adaptation. So default HTTP context from HTTP and request services. That's going to be our service provider. Perfect. And now we just need to return the action context. The action context will take in our HTTP context. New, not really doing any route data, and new action descriptor. Sure, I'm glad I can just do this little import. So we're building up our using statements here, and helps if you actually know how to program. So new action context. All right, so the first thing that we'll do inside the render method here is to say that we have an action context, and that's get action context. Perfect. And we'll have a view engine result, which is going to be, so we're going to look through our view engine, and we're going to tell it or ask it to find a view, and we're going to pass in the action context, the name, and false. What's false? Is main page? No. All right. So now, since we've expanded the view, we can hopefully, when we pass in the name, find this view. But there's a possibility we've done something wrong. A very small possibility, but possibility nonetheless. So we'll check for the success state. So if this is in fact false, we failed to find this view, we're just going to throw a new invalid operation. Invalid operation exception. And why am I going old school with string.format? We're going to adjust that in the notes there. And couldn't find view, and the view that I couldn't find is name. Perfect. All right, so now gotten past that, we have our view. So we'll say var view is equal to view engine result dot view. Now, like I said, we want to convert the view into a string. So we'll do a using statement here for output equals new string writer. Hey, this will help me out. And there's system.io for us. I actually want to go ahead and make another helper method here, make it cleaner looking anyway. Private void and write to output is what we're going to call it. It's a T model. We'll have a T model. And so we'll pass in the model, an action context. Call it action context. I view. No, just an I view. View and a text writer. Which we'll call output. I view apparently lives in view engines. All right, so the writing part's fairly easy. All we need to do is to var view context. That's equal to a new view context. Don't even think about helping me. So it's going to be the last using statement. Might be. So into our view context, we're going to pass in the action context, the view. What I want to do is create a new view data dictionary. Type T model. We'll do a new empty model. Nope. New empty model metadata provider. And new model state dictionary. Man, some days it just helps out too much, right? Model binding and dictionary don't help me at all. All right, so inside of that, we want to set the model property equal to the model that's getting passed in. And we'll do new temp data dictionary. Yes, I did need it. So we have the action context dot HTTP context and our temp data provider. We're getting oh so close. Output, and here we knew HTML helper options. All right, so now after all of that work, basically the work to create the view context, what we can do is to say view dot render async, pass in the view context. We'll say dot get awaiter, and then get result. All right, guess we could have made it asynchronous. Render async. Yeah, we'll keep it the way it is. Synchronous code. Maybe change it in the future. Who knows? So now we're back up to our render method, and inside of the using statement here, we can write to output. We'll pass in the model that we've received, the action context that we created, the view that we found, and our string writer. So the information is getting written to the string writer. So that will all be done, and then we'll say return, inside there, return output dot toString. And now, if all things have gone to plan, we are now able to take a Razor page or Razor view page and convert it to a string inside of either our controllers or our pages, our Razor pages. Or I guess we're getting close to being able to do that. Close that. We can go back to the startup.cs file. The reason why we're close to being able to do that is that we need to, tell it how to find the service. So we'll go services.add transient. We're going to we're going to look for an view renderer, and we're going to tell it that we want a view renderer from that, or an instance of the view renderer. Now we save that. Now we should be able to do some rendering here. So what I'm going to do is open up our Explorer here. And as I keep mentioning, one of the main things I'm going to use this for is sending out emails, which would be basically the first thing that we start working on. So we're going to come up to the web UI. We need to test everything, make sure it's working. So up to web UI, I'm going to create a new folder, called it features, who knows, just because I'm into making new folders, I guess. Inside of there, I'm going to create a folder called email. And actually, no, that one should have been rename messaging. And inside of that, so there'll be some files and things that we need to do, sending our messages, emails and such. And then I'm going to create a new folder inside of that, and I'm going to call that email. This is going to hold all of my view pages for it. Now here we're going to create a file, just test.cs HTML. Real basic. We'll have a model, which is a string. And here we'll say h1. Do I get? Yep. And we'll say at model. So for the h1, then we'll make a p. This is a test. Save that. Close it. And just for the right now that I'm thinking about it, what I'm going to do here, like I said, I'm using this from previous videos in this series here. I'm just going to comment out some of these styles. There's a main.site.scss file, and there's a main.site.ts file that are doing some things. We're just going to comment all of that out. Really has nothing to do with what we're doing. We're going to go into the pages folder here, into the index.cshtml.cs file, do a little bit of work in here. So we'll have a private, wonder why I'm got to change that in the notes too. Private read only, and this will be an view renderer. We'll call it VR help me with the importing from infrastructure. What are you upset about? Because I'm an idiot. Right in the namespace. So inside of the actual class would be a good place to put that. All right, and we need constructor, right? Why doesn't it give me? Oh, too many different languages and different things. So constructor, this is index model. And what we want is an I view renderer VR. Set our view renderer equal to VR. Come down to our onGet method here. Actually, let's make a holder for it. We'll say prop, and this will be a string, just so I know where it came from. View renderer test. Now, view renderer test is going to be equal to VR dot render. We need to give it a string. And the model, in this case, it's a string. No place better than the hello world, or nothing better there. So the string that we need, is to tell it where to find that. In this case, it's in features / messaging / email / test. So this is what I was talking about when I was mentioning what we could make the view expander be. So open to the side here. So if you have a whole bunch of things, like you're going to have a whole bunch of email, you could just say, instead of having all of this typed out here, we could say over here in our view expander, instead of having 0, we just say add this rest to this front here. And actually, if you put it in the right spot, it would work. So now all we would have to do is pass in test. It would look for it. You could do that. I think I've done it. I don't know whether I prefer. I mean, it's pretty explicit where this thing is coming from. In this case, it's in the email, so I'm sending out the email. You could probably, instead of calling this just .test.cshtml, .test-.email, dash email, whatever. But at least for now, I guess I'm going to leave it like this. So now we have hopefully a string sitting inside of our view renderer test. We'll go into the index.cshtml file and adjust this thing a little bit. All I'm going to do is to take this off of here, and we'll just do at model.view renderer test. Guess I need to save them all. Let's just save everything. Perfect. So it's now, since I've saved some files, rebuilding everything and running. Not really sure when I started this running. Did I start it for the video? Anyway, I used the npm run watch command that I created in the previous video. And let's see if I have the, yep. So I have the page already open, and this is what it looks like. Of course, hey, success. We have the page, that Razor page, being converted into a string, and we're injecting that into this page that we're rendering here, or sending down to the client. Of course, we do not want to see the tags. We want it to be rendered right. So let's go back into index.cshtml. Luckily, we have to make a small change here. So we'll just put HTML. So we'll use the HTML helper, and has a method on it called raw. And we'll pass in the string there. Back to our browser, back to the page. Go ahead and refresh. And now we have what we're expecting to see. We have the H1, our hello world, and the test. So now we're able to take a Razor page with a model, pass that model to that page, get a string out of it, and we're able to use that string anywhere within our application. Like I said, the first thing that we're going to start tackle is the ability to send out emails using Razor pages or Razor views. But I also use it to for search indexing capabilities on the website. So you can read a page in, and then you can index the obviously the words within the page and such. But we'll see that after the emails, I think. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.